Breaking news from the White House, where President Biden is set to speak from the Rose Garden any moment now about President Trump's dominating win over Kamala Harris. He's expected to talk about the transfer of power. Here is the president.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. Good to see this cabinet and the staff together here. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's good to see you all. Particularly good to see my granddaughter sitting in the front row here. Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much, her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, and protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty, because it takes time to get it done. And so much more. It's going to take time. but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting, but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it in your lives. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up. That's the story of America for over 240 years and counting. It's a story for all of us, not just some of us. The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith. I'm so proud to have worked with all of you. I really mean it. I sincerely mean it. God bless you all. God bless America. And may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
President Biden delivering what at moments felt like a farewell speech, certainly trying to capture the moment and what voters were trying to say as Kamala Harris was defeated, of course, to former President and now President-elect Donald Trump. The president also drawing contrasts about the election process and talking about that this would perhaps lay to rest the idea that there are problems with our election system. The president also talking about, of course, vowing a smooth transfer of power. I want to go to our senior White House correspondent, Gabe Gutierrez, now at the Rose Garden. Gabe, we caught glimpses of some of the people in the crowd, cabinet members, staff. Describe the setting.
Well, certainly, Lester. It was a very somber setting here in the Rose Garden. As you said, the president was speaking here to staff, cabinet secretaries, some of his senior aides were in the audience, but he really tried to strike a unifying tone for the country. And this is similar to what Vice President Harris said yesterday during her speech at Howard University, really stressing the importance of a peaceful transfer of power. And this was a theme, Lester, that we heard throughout President Biden's campaign of threats to democracy, and basically saying that we can't, the results have to be accepted, and we can't be American. We cannot support America only when we win. And that's something that he reiterated over and over again during his remarks today. Now the focus shifts, Lester, to the next 10 weeks of his administration. And White House officials tell me that he'll be focusing on several things which he alluded to here, including more aid for Ukraine, more further implementing some of the legislation that his administration passed, including that infrastructure law, and in addition to that, more funding for disaster relief. Those are the thoughts are now shifting towards his legacy at this point, Lester. But he also heaped a lot of praise on his Vice President Harris, calling it an inspiring campaign. He did not take any questions, though, as he left the Rose Garden, Lester.
Yeah, you mentioned this, and I want to drill down a little farther. He seemed to be expressing some frustration of the pace of getting credit for things done. He was talking about things done, but noting the horizon, the time horizon. These things sometimes can be measured in decades.
Yeah, certainly, Lester. And he was frustrated, I know, in his conversation with you several months ago, that the administration wasn't getting enough credit for some of its accomplishments, including on infrastructure, and the idea that the economy was improving, that inflation was coming down, or at least plateauing, and that his administration wasn't getting the credit for it. So now, again, he has several foreign trips upcoming, and now he is working on his legacy as this moves forward. But what these remarks were really intended to do, Lester, was really strike this unifying tone at a time when America is so much divided. He is offering an olive branch to now President-elect Trump. He also mentioned that he called him. He has invited him here to the White House. The date for that is uncertain. But we should point out, Lester, that is something that Trump did not offer to Biden back in 2020 when he won the presidency. So the president, again, saying that what is paramount here is a peaceful transfer of power after this very contentious election, Lester.
All right, Gabe, thank you. Garrett Haake is covering President-elect Trump and joins us from West Palm Beach, Florida. What activity is going on there right now?
Well, Lester, we don't know if Donald Trump watched this speech from the president today, although I expect it's a pretty safe bet that he did. He's engaging today in his first formal meetings with his transition team, who have been working for some weeks to try to narrow the many personnel decisions that he's going to have to make in the next couple of weeks, down to just a few names for each of these key jobs that he'll have to fill out, particularly the ones that he'd like to get named or appointed before he heads to Washington. At the top of their to-do list is going to be selecting a chief of staff. Now, the widespread belief within Trump world, among sources I talked to, is that the best fit for that job would be Susie Wiles, his co-campaign manager, who Trump thanked on election night, who's really been kind of the guiding hand in Trump world behind the scenes for the last several years. As best I'm able to tell now, no offer has been made or accepted on that job, but that's really going to be the key effort in Trump world. He understands that personnel in the last administration was something of an Achilles heel, not always making the best personnel decisions. There was a lot of turnover in his cabinet, especially early in his administration. That's something that he and his team would like to avoid this time around with a more structured process underway just today, really, at Mar-a-Lago.
All right, Garrett Haake in Florida, thank you. That concludes this NBC News special report. We'll have much more ahead on our streaming network, NBC News Now, online at NBCNews.com, and a full wrap-up tonight on Nightly News. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.